Is this the worst job mistake ever? I accidentally killed the wrong dog. I used to work for a veterinarian, and one of our tasks was to euthanize sick animals just like any other vet's office. The veterinarian usually left this task up to the other technicians and myself, until one day we put the wrong dog to sleep. Both dogs were sick and both were poodles, and I was instructed to go get the sick poodle ready for euthanasia. I constantly replay how I would have done that day differently. I should have double-checked which poodle. It still haunts me to this day.
I just started my new job, and I made a mistake where I costed my company $15,000. Back in the mid-2000s, I was working at a small financial firm. One day, I accidentally clicked the sort by column in an Excel spreadsheet with every client's. We probably had 500 plus clients/accounts, address and information. Well, unbeknownst to young little me, I was 18, far younger than any other person in the office, that shuffled every single address, so none matched up with the clients' names. That weekend, several pieces of mail were sent to each address, and come Monday, well, shit. None of the mail was sent to the right address. Clients were pissed. Co-workers were pissed. Management was pissed. Overall, the mistake cost about $15,000. No one ever found out it was me, as I was young and not high up in the company, and nearly every single person had looked over that spreadsheet at one point in time. Yeah, I felt awful about it. No, I never said anything. They spent weeks trying to figure out what had happened, and honestly, I didn't realize my mistake until after the whole mess transpired.
Our crew made a $750,000 mistake. I work in an oil field, and during my first week with my current company, I've been for here 6 years. I was trying to take apart a piece of expensive oil well technology in something called a breakout machine. With this machine, it allows you to apply and release torque on rotary connections in huge amounts, like 50 to 60,000 feet lbs. Anyhow, this piece of equipment, a pressure mill, had come back from a well site. I attempted to take it apart in this machine. Having just been trained, and having no one around that day, and me trying to be cool, I gave it a try, and impressed with my initiative, I cranked up the torque on the breakout machine and kept turning a connection on the equipment that wasn't meant to be turned. When it was clear this thing wasn't coming apart, I walked around to the other side of the machine and looked at the piece. It had completely blown out and distended, with mashed steel splayed out all over the place. I couldn't see this from my vantage point when operating the machine. I walked to the general manager's office. Not even my foreman was there that day. I explained what happened, and we went and looked at the damage. He sighed, lit up a cigarette and said, "Well, that's worth about $15,000. Shrugged and walked out. The next day, my foreman was back to work and said, "Hey, when I was new I did the same thing. Only the equipment was in prototype phase and worth $40,000. Then there was the other time me and another shop hand, allegedly, assembled some equipment incorrectly and it fell apart down an oil well our company was servicing. It ended up costing close to $750,000 in remediation and rig costs. But that was never proven. It looks like this type of business, no one cares how much it cost them for workers to mess up. No wonder gas prices are so expensive."
I broke $1 million machine. It was an X-ray diffractometer with a robot disc loading system. I was allowed to make my own discs, but I wasn't supposed to touch the machine, even though I had ascertained how it worked after months of being there. It's an insurance thing. I wasn't officially trained, ergo no touchy. So one day, I really needed a sample processed ASAP. The machine was free, no one was using it. I couldn't find a single person out of the 6 or so folks who were allowed to touch it. So I thought, fuck it. I'll load the disc, do it in less than an hour, and no one will be any the wiser. So I make my disc and walk over to the machine. Press the button to unlock the cabinet. It started to make weird sputtering sounds. Silence. The lights all go out. Machine becomes totally unresponsive. What happened next is one of my proudest moments of crisis management. I calmly went over the bench, put on some gloves, cleaned away all my disc prep, got a cloth, wiped down every part of the machine I had touched, binned everything and walked away, locking the door behind me. I go upstairs, sit in the lab and make a new batch of formula, even though I don't need one. The next day someone asks me if I used the machine. I play dumb and say I was just about to find a person so they could run a sample for me. She tells me not to bother because the diffractometer is broken. I say that's a shame. By this point I've spent 30 hours with a pulse of 110 at least. The next day they tell me that the maintenance staff forgot to fill the cooling vats, so the machine shut itself off in self-defense. Overwhelming relief floods my body. Honestly, if I had actually broken it, I would have taken that secret to my grave.
My coworker made the price of crab legs go up by $20. I didn't do it, but I witnessed it. In college, I worked at the airport as a cargo agent, unloading planes, putting things into storage and whatnot. One of the things we handled was the Alaskan flights. What comes in on the Alaskan flights? Fish and crabs. This was about the time Deadliest Catch was coming on the air. I thought it was cool. Hey, here is this crab that people are risking their lives for. So, the crab comes in one day and I go to take it off the truck to put it on a pallet to put it into the fridge in the warehouse. Me being the careful sort goes to take a hand truck to carefully put in the walk-in. As I'm doing this, my coworker goes, "I got this," and goes to get the forklift. So, I watched him take the forklift. He missed the pallet into the first row of boxes and then lifts the forklift up. Next thing you know, there's crab legs all over the warehouse floor. People were risking their lives to find these crabs, braving the hard weather, little to no sleep, and this idiot with a forklift ruins most the shipment. I'm not sure, but I think the price of crab legs went up $20 on the East Coast after this.
I melted my customer's dead mother's last gift to her. I worked for my father repairing jewelry, and the very first piece I worked on was a small, 18K gold cross. The customer told me that the cross was given to her by her mother, who had passed away, and was very special to her. I put the cross on my charcoal block, heated it up with the torch, and bam! It melted half away just like that. I was too scared to tell her, so I found one just like it and gave that to her instead. I feel bad to this day, 35 years later.
I am part of the reason why it cost so much money to run the military. I was assisting with the offload of a C-141 engine off of our C-5. It was during Desert Storm, December 21, 1990. A USAF reserve crew was waiting for this engine. They'd been stranded for a week or more, and without this engine, they wouldn't make it home for Christmas. Unfortunately, due to some strange geometry with the connection of the engine dolly to the tow vehicle, the tow bar bent in the engine cowling during the offload. All procedures were followed. We did not get in any official trouble, but the engine was not reparable at that location. They estimated $30,000 in damage to the engine. I realized the full price of the damage later that night at the NCO club. At a table near us, we overheard some guys talk about that damn C-5 crew that broke their engine. A couple of them talked about missing Christmas, their kids cried on the phone when they told them, etc. They looked at us and could tell we were from a C-5. They asked if we knew who it was. There were several C-5s in that night, and of course we said we didn't know anything about it. The look on their sad and angry faces made me feel worse than anything up to that point.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you guys have any interesting stories that you would like to share, feel free to leave in the comments below. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more stories and like this video. I'll see you all next time.